time it is!
Thank you once again for checking out the C Squared Hour. I'm your host, Chris, bringing you another episode that, it might actually be uploaded relatively close to my last one. So, suck on that, guidance counselor who said it will never amount to nothing. People wonder, why do you get so down on yourself about this, Chris? Why do you... Well, my last episode, I thought was relatively decent, a little short, but had a lot of good, things going on in it, and I look back and I realize half of my setups for everything was left off, so maybe I'm a giant hack, according to the voice in my head. No, you're not, says the kind old lady walking down the street in my dreams, so who the fuck knows? Well, I'm just gonna jump right into this. As most of you can probably tell, my other microphone's awful quiet this episode. And then you'll realize, I'll just tell you so you don't have to figure it out. The other Chris is not here today. What is he doing, you might ask? Well, he's doing something that he finds very important. It's very... He's not sure it's going to affect our generation. It may affect our kids' generations, but definitely our grandkids and our great-grandkids, their generations. He's lobbying Congress for... And you might think this is the wrong time to lobby, with the elections going on and things like that. But quite honestly, this is the best time to do it because they can't turn anybody away. Because every vote counts, so they have to meet with everybody. You may have to stand in a longer line, but you know where the line is at this point. So he's been taking the last few months and just been trudging up and down Capitol Hill, just trying to make our future better, and he has the perfect way to do it. We need to stop pretending to give a shit about athletes. Harsh talk, I know, but hey, this is what he says. We don't really give a fuck about athletes' health. We just don't. You still call people, you still hear players being called injury prone or had injury troubles. It's not troubles if you care about their health. No, they just dealt with injuries if you care about their health. Oh, but we gotta worry about it because of all the head trauma, and we don't give a fuck. We say we care and we want the dark blue 10 and independent neurologists out there. But Tua's last concussion is still one of the most watched fucking things on YouTube that is out there. We don't give a shit, so let's stop making people pretend to care. How do we do that? Well, there's two real options. Number one, let's start paying them less again. Let's cap professional athletes' salaries because no one gave a flying fuck about athletes when they weren't making as much money as us. Now they're making more money than anybody, and now we have to listen to their opinion. I mean, that's the great thing about America is the less money you have, the less we have to listen to you. Unfortunately, these people that we throw into these gladiator rings that are just supposed to be for our entertainment, all of a sudden they're making money, and it's like, oh, god damn it, now they're in our neighborhoods too? That's a rich athlete joke that has nothing to do with anything else, so don't try to cancel me. These dunces who couldn't figure out anything else to do besides throw a ball professionally, now all of a sudden we have to listen to them? Oh, because they knew how to tackle real good? All of a sudden their opinion matters? And all of a sudden what happens to them after their career matters because they still live in these nice neighborhoods? Fuck off. No one gives a shit about them. If they were still making the same money, even adjusted for inflation, if they were making the same money, we wouldn't give a flying fuck about them. So, first step is we could cap their salaries. That's not going to happen? Okay. Second solution, make it abundantly clear that they are signing the later half of their life away. You play linebacker in the NFL, and you get to there being a big hitter, being a big bruiser, if you get to the NHL doing nothing but fighting every game, every other game, at this point you should know that that is not going to end well for you. It's either going to end early or horrifically, hopefully not both. Like, I understand people getting upset, like coming from the 90s and all that, when that shit was, a lot of shit was busted on the rug, but now it's been 20 fucking years. We know how bad the head is. We know how bad. You can only make it so safe before it's just like, dude, this is kind of what you signed up for at this point. They keep adding pads, and that's making it less safe. They keep removing, moving kickoffs and moving, and none of it's helping. So just make them sign a waiver. If you get into even major college level, if you get into major college for any contact or semi-contact sport, you're going to say, oh, pussy baseball players, but then you forget about catchers, don't you? Of course you don't forget about catchers. Sign it away, and so then we don't have to pretend to care when your life ends horrifically. Because unless you stop playing by age of 12, one of these major contact sports, chances are your retirement days are not going to be as fun as poolside golfing at the Villages. Odds are there's going to be some demons that are still tracking you down. So that's what Chris is saying. He's basically trying to alleviate the nation's guilt from watching these people who just beat the living fuck out of each other. Then afterwards we have to pretend like, oh, we didn't pay $50 a ticket to watch him take his fucking head off. Oh no, we care about his mental health? Oh, that's weird, because we left bored when no one tackled anybody, so he's trying to alleviate the country's guilt by saying, hey, if they sign it away, then they know their head's fucked after 3 years in this league. Interesting thought. I can get down with it a little bit, but he'll have to explain it a little bit more for me. I started this episode a little too late. Not late in the day, a little too late in my processing, so my old squareheads will know what that means, so bear with me. Okay, real quick, PSA. Jennifer Tilly, stop embarrassing yourself. Your career is over. Now they're rebooting all these old poker shows because they need to they need to fill up time on all these sports channels, and what the fuck else can you throw on for? She, when the poker boom was big, made a big name for herself, and she sat at all these tables and became a professional player, and had her big fat tits hanging out of her, her sweaters, and just sat there and just looked good for TV, which was all fine and great when you were in your 30s and your 40s and you were still kind of holding up, and people still wanted to look at you. Now, honey, you don't get to play the looks thing anymore. I mean, you're a 65-year-old half Asian broad sitting with her tits out at a casino table. I could see that anywhere I go. But now that the rest of your career's over, you're going to make sure that everyone notices that you're there by doing all the talking? Come on, honey. You weren't that good of an actor. People didn't want to hear you say other people's words. Why do we want to hear your own words? I may or may not be saying this personally, or, this may or may not be my own opinion. This could be what I see from social media. This could be my opinion. I don't know. I'm just saying, honey, by doing it this way, you're embarrassing yourself. You know what? Fine. You want to ride off in the sunset as the talkative professional poker player at the table who doesn't say anything interesting? That's fine. That's great. But stop trying to do it with your fucking 90-year-old tits hanging out like you did in your 30s. It used to be pretty hot for poker fans. Now it's just sad for everybody. It's not gonna work for you. It's over. It's fine. It's fine. But don't try to be the same person you were trying to... I'm sorry, I saw that earlier, and I saw how she was acting on this, and it just made me sad. It made me sad that It's over. We all know it's over, but she doesn't realize it. Yes, if you're going to go in this other career, but you can't be that person anymore. You can't be the smoking hot broad at the poker table anymore because you're a 7-year-old Asian broad. You see that in any fucking casino. Now that that's done with, let's get back to my real show. We are in for the longest instant replay reviews ever. We are finally to the season of the long instant replay reviews in sports. NFL has some super long ones. Playoff baseball has some insanely long ones. I get it. We have technology, so if we can get the call right, we can get the call right. But again, how many calls have taken 30 minutes to turn or overturn? Or how many... I don't give a shit what it looks like or where it goes. If a review takes longer than 2 minutes, whatever was called on the field has to stay. It has to stand. I mean, playoff baseball and football games have more cameras than a backyard Hamas wedding on them, and if you can't figure it out within 2 minutes, then you're never gonna figure it out. No one gives a fuck that much about the call being exactly right. You know who really doesn't care? People who observe the world. There's nothing more fun than watching 90% of a country disagree with a call and watching how it goes off and how it's reported and all that. That's so much fun. Blown referee calls, possibly one of the most entertaining things you will ever see in the world. Because if it's a big enough game, you're hearing about it for years, decades. If it's not, you're hearing about it for weeks. Okay, I just came up with this. Here's what I'll do. I will sit through a 5-minute replay if it takes 5 minutes. I will let you take up to 5 minutes, but the quote-unquote replay official has to be in the same building. If they're at a central hub like New York or Toronto, then no. You only get 2 minutes. But if the guy up in the booth is going to have just as much security getting out of the building as the guys on the field, then I think it's worth it. I will gladly sit through the extra 3 minutes if that guy has to dodging every headlight behind you because you fucked up a call in Boston. Maybe that's where it gets me. The shittiest calls that still are getting fucked up. Yeah, it's not by the guys who are getting, shit thrown at them on the field and things like that. But then again, you think about it, a company fucks up. The first person who gets bitched at is the one at the lowest level. I get that. All right. Wheels will turn in a little bit, but I'm just saying, if it takes longer than 5 minutes to review anything in slow motion, in fast motion, in, I don't know, with 3 different cameras all at once, if you can't figure it out within 5 minutes with that, no one was going to figure it out. Oh, that's another thing. These, going back to kind of Chris's point before, these, hits that get reviewed about helmet to helmet, or that get, or was this dangerous? Was this, we're going to reveal, should not be allowed to be watched in slow motion. But what if he went helmet to helmet? Who gives a shit? But who gives a shit? You know how many times I've been watching those replays where, you watch it at normal speed and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, they both kind of ducked at the same time and, oh, they were both going, but then you show it in slow motion and here comes the defenseman and his head drops a fraction of a second before the quarterback's head drops. And so that means he ended up hitting him lower, and all of a sudden the guy's kicked out of the game. If you can make a determination, show me one person who can make a determination within half a second whether a runner is going to duck or stay standing. Any review where it's coming to to kick somebody out, like, oh, well, did he target the head? Well, he wasn't targeting the head, but at the last second, dude ducked. So he got a shoulder in the chin rather than in the chest. But if it looks like it on replay, by God. Sorry, I was off on one there, and thank God for my quote unquote producer. I do kind of want to apologize to my fans. This feels more like it's turning into a ramble session than any sort of like linear thought. I'm trying. I have a list. That helps, but it just seems like I see the top of the. I'm trying. I'm sorry. I'm doing the first episode within 7 days of the last episode I did, so I'm a little squirrely, alright, and I apologize. But I'm pretty sure I said all I could say about the review thing.
You stupid.
Alright, fine, I'll jump to the next thing. Oh, baseball playoffs are starting up. I love me the baseball playoffs. If you are any sort of intelligent sports fan, regardless if you like baseball or not, you gotta love the playoffs. And I had no real rooting interest until the Dodgers-Padres series. Unfortunately, that ended quickly for me, but I had a lot of teams I didn't want to win, and I'm kind of still in that same boat now but I was all in on the Padres only because of Manny Machado. I forget what exactly happened, but Flaherty, the pitcher for the Dodgers, starts running his mouth to Machado after striking him out. Something else happens, and they're still jawing back and forth. And once I saw this, I knew I was on the Padres side the whole time. I don't care what happened, what was really said. Because you see Flaherty yelling all sorts of shit from the Dodgers bullpen, and Machado just looks at him and is like, okay, yeah, I'll just meet you outside later. Which basically means, I know if this came down to it, I could fucking kill you, so I don't have to make a big fucking scene about this right now. Well, Flaherty's like, hey, you know, I'm a tough guy. I'm gonna make sure that everyone knows I'm tough, so he's yelling in front of everybody, so he makes sure that everyone can be... Machado did what is the real tough guy move. It's like, okay, yeah, keep yelling, I'll just meet you outside. That is what a real tough guy does. If you know you have no trouble with the guy... How do I know this? Because I've done both moves. I've been the... Dude, you don't want to do this. We can jump outside if you want to. I've also been the guy yelling and screaming down the hall because I know everyone's holding me back. There's no way that guy's getting to me, but if I yell louder, I'll look cool. Guess which time I knew I could beat someone's ass and I was kind of afraid about the fight. Maybe it was just fun seeing something on a professional baseball field that I've actually done both sides of. No, but I became a big Manny Machado fan after that. After he just said, yeah, I'll just meet you outside. Fortunately, Dodgers beat them in the series. So now I'm in a quandary. Because right now you have the Mets, Dodgers, and you have the Yankees, Guardians. Where my head would say, okay, who do I want to win? Cleveland. But no, I never want anything good to happen to that franchise until they switch their name back to the Indians. So I guess it has to be the Mets? I guess that has to be my rooting interest? I've been having a rough few months, guys. If you couldn't tell. Alright, I promise I'm slowing down on this one, or else I'm going to end up sounding like my sister. That's a little joke for some of you old school squareheads. If you don't know, go look it up. Bitch is a mess. Oh, after I already, that's what I need to do more of. I need to do more of, fuck things that benefit my show. Fuck, buying shirts so I can upgrade my equipment. Anyone who knows Manny Machado and can introduce me to him, make that happen, because I want to let him know that I knew he could beat the shit out of Flaherty, and he knew it too. Or introduce me to Flaherty, because I can tell him, like, dude, you knew he was going to kill you, right? That's why you made sure to yell when everyone else told you back. That's the shit I need to fucking start figuring out. If I don't need 1,000 people to start buying shit and sharing my stuff around, no. I need one person who has the one hookup so I can get some real behind-the-scenes shit. Alright, well, let's just stop. Oh, you know what kind of stinks? It's harder to steal wrestling pay-per-views because now that WWE does all their shit through Peacock, no one takes the time to steal AEW streams, but I made it happen. It's cool. I saw Wrestle Dream from Tacoma, and yes, I paid every cent of it. It's political season, so politics are ramping up. So with Trump, Kamala, Trump. Oh, by the way, there seems to be a greater epidemic of douchebag fans. Stick with me here. I'm gonna go through some history. Most of the douchebag fans, most of the people that were in, it was the guy that went to every game and he made sure he was known that he was at the game, the fireman from the Jets game or whatever the fuck it was, which kind of makes me suspicious because if it's the same one, obviously he's not that good of a fireman, or he sure as fuck ain't the first responder if that's what I'm saying. I apologize. I should not be saying anything like that. They're all heroes. I'm sorry. But it used to be these, the mega fans, the guys you could just point at and laugh at and then walk to your seats. It used to be just in the stadium. And then the John 316 guy showed up. The guy wore rainbow hair and held up the John 316 sign. All of a sudden, oh wow, that guy got kind of famous. And people knew who he was and all that shit. And then luckily in the 90s, not luckily for him or the other people, but luckily for sports fans, he got arrested and sentenced to 900 fucking years or whatever it was. And we didn't have to deal with it for a long time until social media. The most notable one, probably more than I think back at, Marlins Man. I'm probably like super breathing in a microphone and I apologize. Marlins Man. Most of you sound like, hey, maybe that's just the one guy who's gone to Marlins games when they were dog shit. Nope, sorry. It's this goober who spends his life only buying tickets to sporting events if he knows he's going to be on the camera. In fact, I saw him at a Washington Nationals game. I watched during the, I rewound and watched him and this other guy get into his bickering match because he was one seat away from being on camera and the guy wouldn't let him have that seat. And so then the guy would go and he'd run and he'd get pushed back and Anyway, Marlins Man, this guy wears this giant orange Marlins shirt to every sporting event, make sure he's on camera. But, Marlins were in the playoffs last year, he didn't go, and he made an excuse about that. Maybe you're just a self-important douchebag. No, I'm jumping ahead of myself, I apologize. Yeah, Marlins Man, and he fucking, takes pictures and he pretends like he's a douche. If you try to get yourself a nickname by doing nothing, and all he does is sit his dumbass behind the plate or behind the glass at hockey events with a big orange shirt, and he tries to get himself a name. Anyway, because of social media, that's coming up. So a few more have stuck on. There's this guy who wears an M&M's NASCAR racing jacket. Is that some sort of Chicago sports team, or the White Sox or the Cubs? He's always on camera there wearing that. There's this 4-year-old big titty broad in Milwaukee who goes to every game, sits behind the plate, but she keeps scoring. She does it by herself. There's all sorts of that. It's become a real big thing. It's become, a cottage industry, if you will. Douchebag fan. And it seems like people are trying to become douchebag fan. You used to have to be, if you're going to be a douchebag fan, you used to have to, not go to your kids' birthday parties and, maybe get married 3 times. And these people, they're trying to become celebrities, but just the M&M's guy just goes up to Chicago games, and I'm gonna go wear an M&M's jacket while I'm on TV. I don't know much about the big titty Brewer broad, but she sits there and keeps score and sits by herself, so that's one thing. Marlins Man goes to every fucking event he can and sits exactly where. But he's doing it he did it for the. Oh, fuck yourself. You get so many. This is why social media stinks. Is because just because a guy wears an orange shirt people can figure out what they did a whole thing with the Smile 2 coming out in the Dodgers thing, where they have two people sitting back there doing the smile thing, the horror movie Smile, where it was like kind of the fake smile. They did that for game. What's game 1? No, it's game 2. Game 2 of the series, and which is one thing because you paid and they actually are there for a reason, not just to promote themselves, not just because, oh wow, I like sports. I wish I was on TV for sports. I never would, but I can figure out a way to get myself on screen during real athletes doing stuff. Figured it out. Big orange fucking shirt. And then you look at the game tonight where Cleveland, New York, they're playing each other. And every time they showed a right-handed batter in the batter's box at Yankee Stadium, you see over their shoulder is Spike Lee wearing this red hat and this red jacket right in the middle of frame. You know exactly that he bought those, he bought that seat just for that reason. You know he wore the big red Yankee stuff, even though they're playing Cleveland, and that's kind of one of Cleveland's. But that's not how you end up on TV, is it? No. So Spike Lee, the biggest fame fucker in the world, the guy who does commercials for credit card companies, which, let's be honest, for the people he rails against, kind of who they go after. But this guy, all in red, just Spike Lee is becoming one of these uber douche fans. I'm going to make sure that even if my face isn't on screen, even if I'm not doing anything for this, by God, people are going to notice if I'm there. And that, my friends, is where we need to come back to this affirmative action argument. Look at this. You look at people like Spike Lee, who for the last 40 years has been at the top of Hollywood, been making these great movies, Oscar nominated, make millions, if not billions of dollars. In the 90s, got in the newspaper for trying to fight Reggie Miller during the NBA playoffs. Like, Spike Lee, of all people, are trying to, a guy who's had more careers than I could ever. I mean, he's had 4 more careers than I can even imagine. Spike Lee is at this untouchable level that most people wouldn't ever get to. And he feels the need to be the red coat Yankees guy. Which means that being the greatest director of African American made movies and of black voices of all time doesn't rank as good in the USA as it does as being a rich lawyer who goes to every game in an orange shirt. You want to talk affirmative action? It's right there. Spike Lee doesn't feel adequate enough being this great guy and being a fan. No, he has to, well, what's going to take me to the next level? I know, I'll do Marlon's man's trick, who's just this douchebag lawyer from Florida. If you want to start talking affirmative action, if you want to start talking all that other shit, there's a prime example. One of the most accomplished black gentlemen of all time feels he will be better off if he steals something from some douchebag lawyer in Miami. He's trying to steal his That is an issue that I can get behind in these debates. Why is Spike Lee treated the exact same way as this fucking douche nozzle fucking lawyer from South Florida, or this broad with big fat tits at a Brewers game? Why is Spike Lee being resigned to being that same person? That's something I'm willing to hear. Well, we are a month away from the election, so I should probably talk about that. I've heard a collective like, oh, every time an election, a political statement's been brought up, and everyone's so tired of politics. I get it. I am too, but How could you joke? It's such a serious part of history. You're right. This is the most important election we've ever had since the last one. Why do I not care? Why am I just here for the theater of it? It's sports. It's sports where the billionaire owners are the bad guys. That wasn't the point, but I'm working on something there. I got something cooking. But we are a month away from the election, so I have to cover it, and people get mad at me when I'm funny about it. Well, let's go through. I'm going to give away a bit of my age here. Let's go through the elections that I can, or the presidential elections I can remember. First one I remember, we elected a rapist murderer from the South with a lesbian wife. That was going to end the world. Okay, next one was the worst president ever, and a president who didn't know how to read. That was going to end the world. Okay, nothing. A gay socialist black Muslim who wanted to community organize everybody into camps. Okay, so we're good on that. And then a philandering billionaire slumlord who's really in debt. He's gonna put us all into hell. No, that didn't happen. Okay, well, this most recent one, this may give us cause. Junior Soprano in his trial. Wait, what? Look it up, you'll love it. That's why I have a hard time taking this shit too much. Yes, I vote. Yes, I put my money where my mouth is, so to speak. But to sit here and sit with my thumb up my ass thinking, oh, if we elect this broad whose shoulder pads are way too big, we're doomed. Or if we elect this guy whose face matches his hair and somehow became less likable after getting shot at. I mean, minus the Guardian Angels guy, Curtis Sawala or whatever, minus the Guardian Angels guy, he's the only person I have ever seen in history who's gotten less likable after getting shot. But if you could look back and say, oh, this is the end of our... You're full of shit. You know why? Because as soon as the election happens, they get inaugurated in January. By March, all the midterm people are starting to fucking work up their campaigns. They're starting to fundraise because you don't want to look like you're fundraising during your campaign level. During your campaign time, you want to look like you're still fighting for the... It's all a fucking joke. I guarantee you, anything that you're upset about or you're worried about has already been decided. Like, I just gave a list of... Since I remember, every one of those presidents was gonna be the end of the Union. Every one of those presidents was either gonna be the second coming of Jesus or the reason Satan rose. And it doesn't fucking happen. And it won't fucking happen. And besides, maybe joking around during shitty events is more fun. Maybe I was raised by a guy who made a Flintstones joke on 9/12. Maybe I had to do some shitty things day after one of my worst days of my life and spent 6 hours just joking around and laughing about it with that same guy. Nothing that has happened in a presidential election has affected me personally. Whether it be the state I live in, whether it be it's all gonna be okay. Obamacare didn't bankrupt everything. Trumponomics. What were they calling those tax breaks? Trumponomics. That didn't fuck up everything. The Bush tax cuts didn't fuck up everything. You know why nothing gets fucked up? Because the people that matter never end up on the stages. But what if this year's different? What if this year's the last tennis tournament they played in Wuhan, China, for fuck's sakes. So even China's not that concerned. Even the place where they tried to end the world, this isn't going to be... Like, if they were really concerned, they would have, quarantine that off, there's a thought there, and I know you're with it. You think I'm joking? I flipped on, I was going through channels. China's channel, Wuhan, what the fuck? Oh no, they're just having a tournament in Wuhan, China. Wait, I thought that's where the world was gonna end. No, but that's where China started to end the world. That's why you shouldn't worry, because China doesn't even give a fuck. They're like, oh, well, we tried to end the world. It's not happening this time. And I guess we'll go back to business as usual and figure out the next fucking brat disease we can give away to people. I don't know. I'm kind of flaming, so I'm going to get out of here for you guys. I really appreciate everyone sticking with me through this journey. I guess journey's fine. If you are enjoying this, let me know by all the social means, or if you know me personally, let me know that way. Feel free to like, subscribe, share. There's shit you could buy, you can always do that. I don't know what else to say, but in the future, as of even close to the next episode, you might be getting a new guest, so be on the lookout. But that's all I got, so I want to thank everybody, and I will see you all next time.